First, I wanted to say shkoyach to everybody for coming back for this man. Last night everybody was here. Tonight's felt, if you mentioned, of a machshava k'maisa. Everybody who didn't come had a chasna or whatever it was, but ki'ilu they're here. I wanted to start off with a maisa with the Chofetz Chaim. I'm going to talk about Shabbos, which is negeya to everything of every single day. The maisa is given as in Radin, there was a yid who had a store. In the store, they sold in the store with a pharmacy. They sold medicines in the store. And everybody, there was one pharmacy in the whole Radin, and everybody who needed any type of refuah would go to the pharmacy to get what he needed. So this yid was open Shabbos. He did everything right. He went to shul and everything else, but when he finished davening in shul, so he went to work like the Jews Amol in America. All the hashkamim and yanim that you find in the shuls was made specially for the Jews who had to go to work. They went to shul early at 7 o'clock. They finished davening by 9, so they could be at work on time. So this year in Radin did the same thing. He went. So he held, by the way, that he was doing a big tova to the people in the town. And he was mati, everybody's meira heta for themselves. He said that people need refuah. Refuah on Shabbos is okay, and so I have to be open to sell my refuahs. That's how he was matzdik to himself. And one day he's sitting at home, and here's a knock on the door. Who's there? The Gadol Hador is there, Chofetz Chaim. So he walks into the room, and he sits down, and he starts schmoozing with him and says, how you doing? How's your learning going? How's your davening going? And he schmoozed with him for about an hour, which was more or less like, I don't want to say idle talk on the Chofetz Chaim, but he didn't say one word about Shmiras Shabbos. Didn't say a word about it. Then he got up and he left. So it was like a pella, like, reason why he came was because this guy was open Shabbos. It's the only Michal Shabbos in the whole town. So he didn't say one word about it. But the Chofetz Chaim, B'tzidkasei and B'koichei HaGadol, made a hashpah on this person. And the person started thinking to himself that, why did the Chofetz Chaim come to me and he never said one word about Shabbos? I know what he meant. So, and as he was thinking about it over and over, the Roshim of the Tzaddik sitting in his house, L'maisa, after a few weeks, he started being open less and less time. Eventually, it was completely closed Shabbos. That you see from the Chofetz Chaim, he knew how to give Musa without giving the Musa. Like just Koichei HaGadol, we talk about hashpahs all the time. So the hashpah of the Tzaddik sitting in his house, that Chas v'Shalom he should be Mechal Shabbos. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why am I talking about this now? Because we're coming, Zman Elul, and Shoftim v'Shochim Titin L'cha. Shoftim v'Shochim Titin L'cha is, of course, not only going that you should set a policeman and put the National Guard in Washington, D.C., or whatever other goes on in the world, but Avada, we're talking about this going also on the pnimius of a mensch, that every person has to have Shoftim v'Shochim v'chol sha'arecha, right? Sha'arecha, as you know, is Shiva Sha'arim on the parts of Adam, which is the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the ears, where everything comes in. So yeah, every person has to have gates to block out. That's only what's negate to the parsha. But really the focus is Shabbos. That in the Bria, we know that Rebbeinu Shalom made everything separate. Zachar, Nekeva. There's kemat no things that are one. There are a few specific things. Now we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mizavik zivugim all day, right? That's what the Medrash says. And it says, Bita shel plaini leplaini, Ishta shel plaini leplaini, right? And then it says at the end of that Medrash, it says, V'kasha k'kriyas yamsuf. So, Pashtus it's going on. And physically, the Rebbeinu Shalom is a shatchin. So they talk about Zivik Rishon, Zivik Sheni, a lot of Torah on it. So I'm going to get to my point in a minute, but what I wanted to bring out was a few things. One thing is that if a person does an avera, whatever, go back a minute, a person does a mitzvah, he shakes lulav, right? And by shaking lulav, what did he do? He did a mitzvah. And then after he finished shaking his lulav, he went and did kol avera shabaylam, right? So Lamaisi, he gets the schar for the mitzvah that he did, and he gets the einish for the avera that he did unrelated. We see that Anochi Hashem Elokecha and Lo Yiyeh Lecha typically should be two independent things. I have Emunah and Rabbeinu Shalom, but so I went to shul in the morning and I went to the tifla in the afternoon, right? So theoretically, it should be two separate things, but we know it doesn't work that way. You cannot be Oved Hashem and at the same time be a kaifa. It doesn't work. So there's another place where we see something similar to it, not on the same madrega, but the same idea. You see, by Amalek, it says Zachar Val Tishkach. It says it a few times, right? If it's Zachar, it's Pasha that it's Al Tishkach. What do you need both for? So, as you know, the Zachar is Zachar, right? That's a tzivui, a positive command. And Tishkach, we know, is M'chinas Nekeva, M'chinas Din, right? So there's two things that work together, Zachar, Al Tishkach, right? So when we're talking about the mitzvah maisis to kill a Amaleki, so that in Chanami is Zachar Al Tishkach. But of course, also we're talking about the Pnimius Adam. That Zachar means that the klipa of Amalek, which is mashpia on us and causes us to do all kinds of averis. The Eka klipa we say is shekarcha baderech, that I don't believe that the Rebbeinu Shalom did anything for me. It happened by coincidence, right? And that's part of the main klipa of Amalek, that nothing, we say we know that nothing happens by accident or by chance. Everything happens exact cheshbon how it's supposed to happen, right? The klipa of Amalek is many things. So Zachar, we have to remember that not to do averis, or not to let that ruach shtus come into a person to do an avera, and through that it'll be Zachar, Val Tishkach. You have a Zachar and a Shamar, you have a Zachar and a Nekeva coming together with Vasachas. So it's working as one. And the same thing you see by Shabbos. Because by Shabbos it says, Shamar v'Zachar b'dibur echad. What are they adding to us that is b'dibur echad? It's coming to show you that just like if a person is Shomer Shabbos and he goes home and he makes Kiddush and then he goes to be Machal Shabbos, it doesn't work. He's not getting schar for that. So I rather told it over to one of the Mekubalim from Eretz Yisrael who I saw today, and he said, it sounds very nice, but you need a Raya L'Dover. I don't have a Raya L'Dover, so if anybody has a Raya L'Dover, I'm all ears. But Al Bisfara, it still makes sense to me, so therefore I'm saying it. If anybody wants to be chaylik, I'm a kabel, because it's a drush, and I'm a shivan al drush, so I'm absolutely a kabel. But anyways, so I wanted to say that a few things. First of all, that you see that there is a zivug built into Shabbos. There's no separation between somebody who's mechal Shabbos and a shomer Shabbos. It's one thing. Either you're a shomer Shabbos or you're mechal Shabbos. You can't be both. Just like you can't be Oved Avodah Zarah and Oved Hashem. You can't be both. You only could be one. Now, it ends off that kosher zivugan shel adam kekriyas yamsuf. So I was thinking that it could be that the pshat is to say that Rebbeinu Shalom is sitting and being mezavik zivugim. So you have Kesher, which is a very beautiful organization, making Shiduchim for people all day long, right? So what's the pshat that Rebbeinu Shalom sat and joined Kesher to sit there, and to be mezavik zivugim? It doesn't make sense. So I'm thinking that the pshat is that this Rebbeinu Shalom is Yoshev and mezavik zivugim, and that's why it's also kosher kriyas yamsuf, is that every person by every mitzvah and avera that a person is doing, when you are miyached a yichud, right? Or in that vein, so this pshat, you're putting together a zachar and a nekeva. That's what we call making a yichud, ma'ila man, right? Every ma'isa mitzvah, right? You do it in order to create a yichud. That's what we call a zivug. Let's say a guy did a mitzvah and he didn't know how to be mechav in the yichud. That's what the Rebbeinu Shalom is doing. The Chazdei Hagadol, which is a Chesed Chinam, is creating a yichud wherever we are lacking any yichud, so he's doing it for us. That's pshat mezavek zivugim. And that's why it's kosher kriyas yamsuf. Why was it kosher kriyas yamsuf? So the real pasha pshat is, there's a few pasha pshatim, but the first pasha pshat is that it's no kosher by a Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? So who's the kosher going on? On us. That we have an issue reaching that madrega in Amunah B'tachin, like to jump into the ocean, right? You have to have a big madrega, right? So same thing, like, you go read a shidduch to somebody, they're chaykev v'dairish, and then, it's not tzugapas, this and that. Nobody's willing to take the leap and say, maybe because the shidduch was read, then I'll go out with the girl until they're 28, 29, and they're already feeling hopeless, right? That's, where's the Amunah B'tachin? It's the shver zach. That's pshat kosher, pasha pshat. But over here, what was the kosher kriyas yamsuf? Because the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Klal Yisrael was screaming at Moshe. And Moshe davened to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And what did Rebbeinu Shalom say? Ma titzak elai. Right? Why did he say ma titzak elai? Because Moshe was coming mibchinas teferes, which is the zah, which is normal meisim that would happen b'hai alma. And what is the pshat? And the Zohar says, and I said over the meisim with the Arizal, they was darshaning ma titzak elai, and he lost a son because it was Megalasidus. So the answer is because Matitzak Elai is Pshat Kivatika Talya Melza. Is that those koiches have to come from a very high madrega of Atik. So the kosher is that since normally High Alma only works Zavanuk, so therefore you have to come on to Atik, that's considered kosher, because to reach such a high madrega is considered difficulty.
Actually, just one question. He said, I think once that Eli is Atika Talmud. That's what we read by Fakman said.
Okay, I'm not telling out the pasuk because the ma is the shem ma, which is therefore it should come from za, and titzak Eli that's going on the atik.
Eli is Atika.
Yeah, that's.
Ulan is Malchus. Because with the vav Yisai.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying, b'negei this, Zohar says, "Ba'atika Talya Melza," and that's the kosher kriyas yamsuf. So, therefore, I wanted to say that just like a tree has built in a zocher and a keva, raya l'davar is all. That's mitzvah, it's a scientific fact, right? And so too, that's why Elon. What's the gematria of Elon? Havaya Adnus 91, because in it is built in the zocher and the keva. And the Shabbos also built in the zocher and the keva. The zocher v'sham is built in. So therefore, I wanted to say, I'm just going over that this zivug that we create, that Kadosh Baruch Hu is Yoshim, Zavik Zivugim is going on to be maila every person's mitzvahs that it should go to it. And also we need, I'm going back to the Shoftim V'Shoitrim and the Amalek, the Shoftim V'Shoitrim is going dafka on the Zuama, which comes, the klipas that are coming from Amalek and every other, and the Zuma Sanochosh and the Achila, which is coming from the Zuama of the Chet Adam Harishan, and so on. So everything that we do has to have Gedarim to it. And on that note, we should all be Zeicha, that we're coming up to this Mana El and Rosh Hashanah and everything else, we should all be Zeicha to have internal Shoftim V'Shoitrim, and we should be Zeicha to be able to be Mezavik the Zivugim all by itself, like Shabbos.